lasting memory of the British Touring Car Championship 1988 was Rouse against Soper. Whether it was Brand, Silverstone, Thruxton or here at Donington, the battles were epic, with Rouse emerging victorious, but not as champion. That title went to Frank Sytner and the ProDrive team, beaten only once in the BMW in Class B. 1989 in the SO British Touring Car Championship promises to be the best ever, and nervous fingers hit the starter buttons. Oulton Park, round one. Especially tense, Andy Rouse, the great engineer driver. Despite confidently placing his Ford Sierra RS500 on pole position, he knows that behind him, no Steve Soper, but a packed Class A entry, this season better prepared to present a really strong challenge. There's Rob Gravett alongside him, with an engine prepared by the Australian touring car master Dick Johnson. There's Chris Hodgetts, the former champion, on road 2, who showed he was close to matching Rouse's pace at the end of last season. There's big money backing and a Rouse-prepared car for the experienced Tim Harvey. And heading Class B, Britain's James Weaver, a proven race winner on both sides of the Atlantic. In all, 32 starters, but the spectacle and the glory this season is in Class A. No less than 17 Ford Sierras, but does anyone have a car to match Rouse, who qualified almost a second and a half quicker than Rob Gravett? Further down the grid, Mike Smith, making his return to racing, is on the 6th row. James Weaver in the BMW on the 7th row, ahead of Frank Sytner. The target for Rouse, realistically, Class A success, because remember, a win in any of the lower, less competitive classes carries an equal number of overall championship points.
There's one or two fairly weak classes there where one particular driver is going to have a fairly easy time, pick up easy points, whereas I'm going to have to work very hard to gain those points. So we're not too optimistic about the championship, but we are optimistic about a really good season's racing.
Rob Gravett alongside Rouse is part of the new Trackstar team, which he's set up with Mike Smith. Mike just happy to be back for his first race since his helicopter crash, but what kind of physical problem will he face?
Stamina is the problem. I've not had any chance to do any aerobic exercise, which I'm told I should have done, but you can't, you know, if your ankle won't move, you can't do it. It's going to take until early summer. I'm walking without a limp, and I'm gradually getting back into things. 2 hours physiotherapy a day. I'll be fit, I'll be fine, you know, my head's in the right place.
Before we join Murray Walker, a word about the other change for the new season. It's a rolling start, the field building up pace for an explosion of power across the start line. For the champion Frank Sytner in the body of the pack, that's not a great prospect.
I must say, I question whether it's a good idea here at Oulton Park, because Old Hall comes up very quickly indeed. Instead of arriving at Old Hall at about 60 or 70 miles an hour, we'll be arriving at Old Hall at about 120 miles an hour. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, reserve judgment on that.
Well, we soon will see, because now they're on their way to the first rolling start of the SO British Touring Car Championship. Over the line, away they go into Old Hall Corner, and it's Andy Rouse leading, Gravett in second position, Chris Hodgetts and Harvey is in fourth place. Now we're in car with Mike Smith in the Ford Sierra Cosworth, straight into the back of Graham Good's Sierra. That's a real thump, and that's the rear bumper missing off Good's car as two string through ahead of Mike Smith. Onto Cascades, the left-hander. Up towards Lakeside and onto the hairpin at Shell, and at Shell, second gear, 50 miles an hour they go into that. Rouse is leading, Hodgetts is in third position, Gravett is sandwiched in between them. Out of Shell, Tim Harvey is in fourth place, Guy Edwards is in fifth, there is Newman in sixth position, and Graham Good is already retiring from the first race of the year. So, Clay Hill now, fifth gear, 130 miles an hour. Rouse, Gravett, Hodgetts, Harvey, there's very little in it. Up towards Druids, a very tight right-hander, third gear, 80 miles an hour. There's Rouse, Gravett, Hodgetts, and Harvey in the blue Sierra is starting to close on Chris Hodgetts in the red one. On to Lodge. Second gear, 60 miles an hour. 2,000 horsepower from the first four Ford Sierra Cosworths. Into Deer Leap, fourth gear, 120 miles an hour. Rouse, Gravett, Hodgetts, Harvey. And at the end of the lap, they're doing 135 miles an hour into Old Hall. There's Harvey. Down to Cascades, Gravett in second place, Hodgetts in third position, Harvey still holding fourth place. And away they go, and in car with Jerry Marnie now, taking seventh place from the Dutchman Gerrit van Kouwen, and Gerrit's running on unleaded fuel, by the way. Shell corner, Jerry Marnie, seventh place, Van Kouwen behind him, eighth, Jones, ninth. Mike Smith and then the two BMWs, and now we're in car with Frank Sytner, the 1988 British champion. Ahead of him, his ebullient teammate, James Weaver, through the Folkestone chicane, 60 miles an hour. And a grim-looking Graham Good stomps down the pit lane, no doubt to complain. So let's look at it again from Mike Smith's point of view. He approaches the start line in grid order. The first corner, Old Hall ahead of him now, the right-hander. Closing up on Graham Good's black Ford Sierra Cosworth as they tuck into the apex. Zap! Straight into the back. And there's going to be ructions about that. Graham is not at all happy.
Graham, what went wrong? I'll tell you what happened. Mike bloody Smith just gave me such a bang up the rear. I can't believe that. It's the second time he's done it. I just can't believe it. The first corner, there was a Labatt's car in front. Admittedly, he was going a bit rather slowly, but even so, Mike just gave me such a smack up the arse. I couldn't believe it. And he broke all the rear suspension.
Well, infuriating for poor Graham, but I'd call it a racing accident. And in the midfield, Clark, Hall and James Kay, all in BMW M3s, fighting for third place in their class. Whilst ahead of them in the two white BMWs at Old Hall, sports car ace James Weaver still leads British champion Frank Sytner. It looks like Frank's got his hands full. Down to Cascades at 130 miles an hour. Weaver ahead of him. And ahead of Weaver is Carl Jones. And meantime, number 56, John Cleland's Vauxhall Astra is leading Class C. And to nobody's surprise, it's number 70, Phil Dowsett's Toyota, leading Class D. More about them later. Lodge corner, and still the imperturbable Andy Rouse leads. But he's getting no peace at all from Rob Gravett and Chris Hodgetts. First, second and third, out of Deer Leap at 120 miles an hour. Over the start line at 135 miles an hour. Rouse drifts wide at 85 at Old Hall corner. Then Gravett, then Hodgetts. And it's really interesting up front with number 21, Rob Gravett Sierra, built by Australian champion Dick Johnson in Queensland for Gravett and Mike Smith's brand new Trackstar team. In car with Mike Smith. Carl Jones ahead in ninth place, and he goes off. Carl Jones goes off, buck all over Mike's windscreen. Watch the air pressure clearing it off. Get the wipers on. Into Cascades, there's Mike, Sean Walker, Carl Jones, and Weaver and Sytner, 12th and 13th in the BMWs and gaining. And now in car with a new slimline, Jerry Marnie, second in the British Championship in 1988. Goes past fifth place Mike Newman, does he? Yes, he does. Goes through on the inside. Jerry Marnie goes up to fifth. And that battered Sierra's Mike Smith's. Down to Lodge corner, Marnie, then Newman, then the Dutchman, Gerrit van Kouwen, back to saloon car racing, in car with Jerry Marnie, up to fourth, 120 miles an hour, fifth gear, 130 miles an hour over the line, and Jerry Marnie is pulling away. And now Carl Jones is cramming on the speed. Look at him, number 28 going through inside Mike Smith, down to Cascades. And Sean Walker's attacking on the right. He goes through. I suspect that Mike Smith is getting tired. He is still recovering from that very bad helicopter crash he had last year. And James Weaver is right up with Smith. Number 21, Rob Gravett, approaching Shell. Second, look for Rouse in front of him. There he is. There's Gravett. Third is Chris Hodgetts in the red car, and the blue Sierra's Lawrence Bristow back after a stop. So now, up Clay Hill, into Druids. Number 1, Andy Rouse, lapping the BMW, leads. Rob Gravett in second position, and it is beginning to look like Andy Rouse's race. He dominated things last year, and he's doing it again. Into Lodge. Dear lead. Drift wide. Change up. Over the line. Another lap completed. Andy is easing away. Old Hall corner. Gravett second. Hodgetts third. Bristow behind has been lapped. It's looking like 1988 again. Andy Rouse there won 9 out of 12 rounds last year. He's leading by 2 seconds. Not much, but it's enough. And back at Lodge, it's Newman, Van Cowen, Jones, Walker, Smith, Weaver. There's Weaver in the background behind Mike Smith. Weaver chasing Mike Smith, Ford Sierra hard. And that is Carl Jones, number 28 at Old Hall corner. Squeal of tyres, he's off. Carl Jones pirouettes across the grass in the Ford. He's going to be perfectly okay, but he's lost his placing. And now Frank Sytner is fighting Graham Hathaway in the yellow Ford Sierra for 13th place. Hathaway goes through on the inside. Sytner takes it back. No, he doesn't. Down to Cascades. That's ex-Rallycross British champion Graham Hathaway pitting 500 Cosworth horsepower against 320 Munich horses. And Frank's right up his boot lid. Nicker Brook, 130 miles an hour. Andy Rouse leads. Gravett second. Andy Rouse is in a beautifully smooth groove. There's Hathaway and Sytner fighting it out behind. And gritty British champion Frank Sytner goes into Fulstons, but well behind James Weaver's class-leading BMW. Now you see why they're so good. Hathaway, Sytner, absolutely on the ragged edge. And there's Robin Donovan's Ford Sierra Cosworth, sandwiched between 2 BMWs. Being close, he's going to be taken. No, he's not. Turbo's blown. Robin Donovan's turbo blows. And into the pits comes Carl Jones. So, turbo problems for Donovan. Turbo problems for Carl Jones. But there is no turbo problem for Rob Gravett. Look at him. He has closed right up on race leader Andy Rouse. They go through first and second to complete another lap, and lights ablaze. Chris Hodgetts is hanging on to third. 2 ex-British champions sandwiching Rob Gravett in second position. Down to Cascades. Rouse. Gravett. Out of the left-hander, they line it up for Shell by way of Island Bend. There's a couple of tail-enders ahead of them. Are they going to get in the way? There goes Chris Hodgetts. Here is Gravett, almost attached to Rouse's Sierra. And what a debut for the Trackstar team. Nicker Brook, lapping 1. Lapping 2. Andy Rouse being forced every inch of the way by Rob Gravett. Gravett with a lot less experience, but he's giving Rouse a very hard time as Andy comes up to Druids at 80 miles an hour. Tucks in tight, lets it drift out, and he's off! Andy Rouse goes off! Straight into the tyre wall. That's a very big thump. But the door opens. Out gets Andy. Thank heavens he's okay. But why? A mistake? A tyre problem? Something broke? Oil on the track? Who knows? But whatever, Andy Rouse is out. Look at it again. He just suddenly changes direction for no apparent reason at all, and that is a mystery. Now, here is Andy's view. There's a problem with the camera, but you can see out of Nicker Brook at 130 miles an hour. Change gear. Change again. And again. Turn right. And off. Lost it on the grass. No friction there. Straight into the tyre wall. Well, Andy's got every reason to look dejected, but that tyre barrier worked and he's okay. while in the pits, a worried team are looking for the boss. Well, they won't see him, because now Rob Gravett leads. There he is, his first race for the new Mike Smith Rob Gravett Trackstar team. And in the other Trackstar Sierra, Mike Smith's tiring. He's being passed by the very impressive James Weaver's BMW. So James is now 9th class leader and a new class lap record holder. And keeping ahead of Mike Smith in spite of the fact that he's got 180 horsepower less. Number 10, Guy Edwards, is third now in the second Rouse team car behind Gravett and Hodgetts. Battling it out with the fourth place man, number 7, Tim Harvey. There he is. On to Knickerbrook. Edwards in third position, Harvey in fourth place. Up to Druids, and Guy Edwards is in his 24th year of racing. Formula One, twice winner of Oulton's Gold Cup, and he's the man who pulled Niki Lauda out of that blazing Ferrari in 1976. And he got a Queen's Gallantry Medal for that. Tim Harvey behind him, his 9th year of racing. Karts, Formula Ford, sports, saloons, he's driven them all, and he's in 4th position here. 17 Ford Sierra turbocharged Cosworth cars started this race, and they are really dominating things at the front and, of course, in Class A. And number 21, Rob Gravett, hasn't got far to go now. If he can hang on, it's going to be a great win for him ahead of Chris Hodgetts and Guy Edwards. But Guy Edwards is touring. There's Guy. He's blown the engine. See the smoke pouring from the back, pulling off the course, out of the race. This is not the Rouse team's day. And it's not Chris Hodgetts' day either, after all. He's limping. Slowed right down. He's got a right front puncture. And that's Mike O'Brien coming up to pass him. Mike's well down the field, though. So Chris Hodgetts trying to get back to the pits to change that front wheel and tyre. On, slowly onwards goes Chris Hodgetts, and Mike O'Brien loses it. And drive assured, it says on the side. Well, Mike O'Brien regains the course. And it's going to be 32-year-old Rob Gravett's race, all the way from Australia for his Sierra, and victory first time out. A superb achievement. Well done, Rob. And there is James Weaver winning Class B in the white BMW M3. Maximum points in his class. And as Weaver tours in, an exhausted Mike Smith in the second Trackstar Sierra just beats the rejoined Chris Hodgetts to 7th place. Mike Smith comes in, demonstrating the massive dent where he hit Graham Good. But he's finished the race. And there it is. Turbocharged Ford Sierra Cosworth 1st to 5th. Weaver's 2.3-litre non-turbo BMW 6th. And a very happy Rob Gravett.
First time out, and the boys, they've worked so hard the last 2 weeks. They've only just arrived, these cars from Australia. They've been working 48 hours in a row, no bed. Amazing, I'm really pleased for them. What can I say?
Great effort from Gravett, but class winners like John Cleland in Class C get the same championship points. Cleland gave a very impressive debut to the Vauxhall Dealer Sport 16-valve Astra GTE. Never headed in the class, he set a new lap record, and the Scotsman is already most people's tip for the overall championship title. Class D victory went to Jeff Kimber-Smith in his Toyota Corolla GT. But that was only after the demise of Phil Dowsett, the man who dominated the class last season and came close to winning the championship himself. Dowsett, struggling for finance and a late entry in his Toyota, was leading the class very comfortably when he was forced out with a broken drive peg. Even then, Kimber-Smith only just managed to take the points. forcing his car over the line on the starter motor after suffering a fuel problem on the very last bend. So drama among the lower classes, but not exactly the high drama that already leaves the quickest man in the field off the pace in the championship contest. So the full result of the opening round and post-race analysis put Rouse's problem down to a broken steering rack. Second round at Silverstone, and his effort is in better shape. After claiming pole position, he's leading Gravett as we join the race midway through the second lap.
Up to Chapel, building up to 150 miles an hour as they approach Stowe Corner. And it's 4 times British champion Andy Rouse leading Rob Gravett in the Australian-built Sierra, and now this is Rob Gravett's car. 22 years old, Rob Gravett from Maidenhead, the winner and the lap record holder at Oulton, chasing Andy Rouse. Towards Abbey. Now we're in car with the race leader, Andy Rouse. Rob Gravett looming up behind him. Up to Bridge. Watch it go down through the gears into the left-hander. And the gap between Andy Rouse in first place and Graham Good in 5th position is a mere 4 seconds. In car with Rob Gravett through the chicane, 100 miles an hour. Down the start and finish straight, up towards Copse. Lap 3 is 1/5 distance. Here come the leaders. Rouse, Gravett, the Labatt twins, Harvey and Bristow. There they go. Graham Good in 5th position. Dave Brodie well up. Round to Beckett's again, the slowest corner on the course, but it's still very, very quick, tight into the apex. Rob Gravett is closing up on Andy Rouse's Sierra. Out wide into Chapel, cut across, down the hanger straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars burst out of Chapel curve, and 6 seconds cover the top 7 as the leaders, Rouse and Gravett, go into Stowe. And now we're in car with James Weaver. This is the battle for the B-class leadership. And Weaver has just taken it from Frank Sytner, who goes through and retakes it. 320 horsepower, 2.3-litre BMW M3s. And up front, the 1988 champion from Nottingham, Frank Sytner. Round the right-hander, Sytner ahead, then it's Weaver, then it is Godfrey Hall. Second in the class in 1988, and James Weaver is really harrying Sytner. Sytner can see the BMW in his mirror. Weaver coming up on the left as they approach the left-hander at Bridge. And Weaver is through. Weaver is leading Class B. Into the left, into the right. Accelerating away up towards the chicane. And there are the 3 Class B leaders. First is Weaver, second is Sytner, and third in the black M3 is Godfrey Hall. Up to Copse. Sytner comes out from the slipstream of Weaver, he goes through on the inside. Frank Sytner retakes the class lead. Down to second place goes Weaver. And Sytner seems to be going just as well without a spoiler. And the 3 BMWs are catching Bornebusch's Sierra in front. Absolutely together. This is heroic stuff. 960 horsepower there. Into Chapel again. Down the hanger straight again. BMW Finance, it says there. They're going to need some of that for Frank's new spoiler. And Weaver takes Sytner. No, he doesn't. Sytner's got the inside line down to Stowe. Weaver's going to have to go wide. Sytner keeps in tight and keeps the class lead. So it's still, and there's somebody off. That's John Clark out. And he's obviously hit something and he's obviously very unhappy. Now we're in car with Jerry Marney, 11th place. 3 Sierras ahead. Jones, Smith and Van Cowen. And Jones spins. Carl Jones spins, he's stationary, and the BMW battle is approaching, and this is it. Sytner goes ahead of Weaver, and Jones rejoins right in front of the BMW. Sytner comes out of the corner first, then Weaver behind him. Jones has fallen into place between Weaver and Godfrey Hall. Out of the complex, over the line, and in this Class B Titanic scrap, it is still Sytner, Weaver. Behind the yellow headlighted Ford Sierra is Godfrey Hall in third place in Class B. What a fabulous scrap this is. This is the car that's won the European Championship for the last 2 years. And look at the difference at the front of these two white BMWs. Sytner, no spoiler, Weaver has got one. Now, it must make a difference somewhere on the circuit that James Weaver has got better aerodynamics by virtue of the fact that he has got a spoiler. But up front there is Andy Rouse, leading Rob Gravett, number 21. You can see how close Rob is. He's not giving Andy any rest at all. And back at Stowe, it's still Sytner, Weaver. There's Jones in the Sierra, behind him Godfrey Hall. Absolutely on the ragged edge, drifting out over the rumble bars. Now we're with Weaver, approaching Abbey. He's closing up on Sytner. He's going to come out of Abbey faster than Frank. He's got the momentum. He's pulling ahead. Weaver is ahead. But Frank Sytner is not giving up. He is fighting on. Look at him. Number 33. Nothing in it. Out of the chicane. Down the straight into Copse yet again. Weaver, Sytner. Carl Jones still can't get past them in the 500 horsepower Ford Sierra. And Rob Gravett is fighting too, still with the race leader, number 1, Andy Rouse, as they lap the Class D 1600cc Toyota Corollas, and they are lapping nose to tail at some 108 miles an hour. Stab of flame as Gravett overruns on the turbo. He's right in the slipstream of Andy Rouse now. He's going to try and get through as they come up to Abbey. It's quite possible. Into Bridge. Well, last year it was Andy Rouse all the way. 9 dominating wins from 12 races. But Rob Gravett's really making him work this year. Into the chicane, out of it. They're lapping the Class D leader, Phil Dowsett, in the 1600cc Toyota Corolla. Copse. But behind them, approaching Bridge, there's a solid wodge of cars, and Carl Jones is ahead of the BMWs. There he is. But look at Sytner with the blue screen. He's through on the inside. He hits Weaver. He's onto the grass, and Weaver passes him, and Weaver is ahead again. But the way Frank is pushing, can he stay ahead? Well, into the chicane. Weaver ahead, Sytner second. And in car with the BRDC sports car champion Tim Harvey, third in the Sierra, down hanger. Lawrence Bristow is right behind him. And a great wrench at the wheel by Tim Harvey. Bristow through on the inside into third position, out of Stowe, and that's the trouble. Tim Harvey has got a puncture in the left rear and more M3 action. That is the ex-Saab champion, John Llewellyn. He's lost it, he's recovering, accelerating away. Lost places there, of course, and here's Andy. Cool, calm, and still leading in the 500 horsepower, turbocharged 2-litre Ford Sierra. But behind him, there is a new lap record, Rob Gravett, at 108.21 miles an hour. And lap 10 is 2/3 race distance. Rouse, Gravett, Bristow, Good, Hodgetts, Brodie. And into the pits comes last year's Silverstone winner Jerry Marney from 10th position. Slowly crawling in. And here's Tim Harvey limping in to get that left rear changed. So, what's the trouble, Jerry Marnie?
The ignition system's gone completely dead. They're just trying to fix it now, but looks like it's fairly terminal.
Well, it's all happening. Tony Crudgington's got a smoky old problem with the Toyota there, and coming up fast behind him are battling BMWs. Crudgington moves across. He's going to go onto the grass. No, he's not. He's going to go onto the circuit. What is he doing? Past him go the BMWs. Weaver ahead. Now, 1988 British champion Frank Sytner won 11 out of 12 class victories last year and the championship. But the talented James Weaver, and this is him, beat him at Oulton Park, and it looks as though he's going to beat him again. Down a gear. Bang! Sytner's hit him up the back, look! Out of chapel. Well, Sytner really is pushing hard. Not content to sit behind his boot lid, he's trying to open it. Down the hanger straight. And Sytner seems to be prepared to drive over the top of Weaver if he has to. He's swarming all over the car in front. And it frankly amazes me that Sytner's able to go so quickly without that spoiler, because Silverstone is a quick circuit where you need all the aerodynamic help you can get. And it's Class B, Weaver leading, 33 Sytner in second place. Weaver approaching Abbey now at about 140 miles an hour. This is what he sees. And as they come up to the left-hander of Bridge, incredible! Sytner is trying to pass, there! Right up on his side, he pushes Weaver onto the grass. He literally smashes his way past. But look at that smoke. That'll be the tar grinding against the BMW bodywork. How long can it last? Here's how Weaver sees it. Into the left-hander and crump onto the gravel bed. There goes Frank on the left. Well, this is more like stock car racing than touring car racing. And it's almost the end of the race. In fact, here is Andy Rouse coming out of the chicane to win round 2. And Rob Gravett takes second place. But who's going to win the BMW brawl? It's Frank Sytner ahead, but 32 Weaver is closing and smoking too, like Sytner. Down to Stowe Corner. They're coming up to pass one of the amazing Vauxhall Astras, which are pulverising Class C. This is the last lap for Sytner, leading Class B. Weaver with the red headlights in second place, number 32. And it looks as though Sytner's aggression is going to pay off. But is it? As they approach club, James Weaver is closing. They're almost home now. They've only got to do Abbey, Bridge, the chicane, and that's the end of the race. And here's Weaver. He's going to take Sytner. He's closing all the time. Sytner goes into the left-hander and Abbey. He's lost it. He's off. Wow. That was undoubtedly a burst tyre. So James Weaver wins the class again, and he deserves to. But I'll tell you this, there's going to be a brisk demand for BMW body parts tomorrow. Weaver comes home, but it's overall victory for Andy Rouse, with Rob Gravett second, Bristow third, Good fourth, Brodie fifth, and Chris Hodgett sixth. But what did James Weaver think about his hell on wheels?
You know, Frank and I are obviously racing each other, but normally when you overtake somebody, get alongside going into the corner, and it's your corner. But if you start trying to overtake halfway between the turning point and the apex, when it's not really your corner, of course, we're going to meet in the middle. And every time Frank thought he was anything like close enough, he'd just come down the inside and try and knock me off the road. And, you know, it's impossible to race against somebody like that.
I mean, is that brain fade or aggression?
Well, Frank's one of the most aggressive people I've ever raced against, but we're in the same team, and if he can't overtake me cleanly, I don't really think he should drive like that.
With a couple of laps to go, I knew the only way to win that really was to take a pretty serious chance somewhere, preferably somewhere a bit slow, or the slower corners, just to try and get through, which sort of worked, but James quite rightly closed the door quite firmly. We touched. I came off best of that. We both struggled around the last lap with tyre smoke and anything else pouring off the car. As I turned into Abbey, with effectively 2 corners to go, the left rear tyre blew. Well, the rest is very obvious.
But spectacular competition. Things have changed little since last season. But what of the other joint championship leader after the first round, John Cleland in the 16-valve Astra GTE in Class C? Because of a wheel hub failure, he'd qualified last in class, but rapidly made up the ground off the start line. It takes him just the length of the straight to make short work of the Class D Toyotas, blasting past Phil Dowsett and Jeff Kimber-Smith. In his sights next, Mike Jordan's Class C Peugeot 309 GTI. He'd be past him by maggots. Further on that first lap, down the hanger straight, and he waves the Class C leader, Alan Minshaw, in a Volkswagen Golf GTI out of the way. Last in class to first inside the first half lap. And Cleland wasn't stopping there. Pretty soon he was up among the Class A Sierras, like Dave Pinkney, and was equally ambitious, equally unforgiving. John Cleland on his way to an excellent 19th overall, and the championship lead on his own. Victory in Class D went to Phil Dowsett in the Toyota Corolla FX GT. We were travelling right up alongside the first round winner, Jeff Kimber-Smith, the early leader in Class D, battling with Tony Crudgington in the similar Corolla GT. But what Kimber-Smith is also battling is an engine that's on the point of giving out after just 2 laps. Crudgington pulls away and Phil Dowsett also gets past. So it's between Crudgington and Dowsett for the class points, a result that's decided at the end of the lap. Phil Dowsett, a man who came so close to the overall title last year, struggling to get a full season's deal together this year, lines his man up on the exit to Woodcote for a passing manoeuvre down the straight. Mike Jordan's Class C Peugeot in close attendance, but Phil Dowsett the winner of Class D. The overall table after 2 rounds shows Cleland with 2 victories and 2 fastest laps, leading from Weaver, 2 victories and 1 fastest lap. But it's Weaver in the BMW who's had by far the toughest class win at Silverstone.